Welcome to this session. It is a lower body day, and all you're going to need is a chair and the wall. So get those, and then we'll get started. There are going to be a couple times where you can add some light weights that I'll let you know about. I'm just not going to do any weights today, but that is an option if you want a little bit more of a challenge. So to get started, we'll just put our chair right up against the wall. And I'm wearing shoes today just so that I have a little bit more grip and I don't kind of like slide away in a few moves. So you can either wear grippy socks or shoes, or you can do bare feet as well. So we'll start just warming up our hamstrings with a little bit of kickbacks. So think of kicking your butt with your heels. And you can take this as slow or as quick as you want for your warm-up. And you can start kind of getting down and lifting up, getting a little bit of a squat going. Just for 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And then now we'll do some pelvic circles. So standing about feet hip distance apart, toes can be slightly turned out if that's comfortable for you. And you're just gonna roll through the pelvis around, kind of like you're doing a hula hoop. Just working on warming up our joints and our muscles. Oh, and I forgot to say, you can, as always, turn on your music in the background. One more in this direction. And then when you get back to the beginning, going the other way. And again, you might want to start with these kind of small, and then you can work your way up. Whatever feels good for your body. I've done nothing today. I just sat around, so I'm a little stiff. And one more. And then we'll do some good mornings. So I'm just going to turn this way so you can see a little bit better. Again, feet hip distance apart. Toes can be slightly turned out if you like doing that, or they can be forwards. And you're going to hinge at the hips. So thinking of your sit bones reaching back behind you and then standing up. So the only thing that's really moving here is at our hip joint. We're folding in half, trying to keep a flat back. As I said, I'm very stiff because I haven't done anything today. Sometimes if I've walked the dog, I'm a little bit looser. Get some blood flow going. And neck is nice and long to not hurt our low back. For 2 here. And last one. And then we'll just do some good old-fashioned squats. You can even use the chair. You can sit back in your chair if you want. And you can start just in the top half and work your way down to that full squat, or get right into it. Especially when we're going to do some bridging and the glute work. I really never skip that warm up because I find it so hard to do bridging right off the get-go if I haven't, started to warm up the hamstrings a bit. And just 2 more. And last one. And then we'll just do a little stretch here. If you don't like this, you can just continue doing squatting. So we're going to come down into our low squat. You can have your feet or your hands kind of grab your toes if you want, or you can just have them on the mat. And then we're going to straighten to the best of our ability and then coming down. If you don't like coming down into this low squat, if it's not great for your hips or knees, as I said, don't do it. Or if you don't have maybe the ankle mobility to come all the way down, it's something to work on. Just do your best. For 3, 2, and last one. And then coming all the way up. So I'm going to actually center my chair here. Your chair doesn't have to be right against the wall. Actually, I might move mine out in a minute or two, depending on just how tall you are and your body. You don't want to be like hitting the wall. So we're going to start with some bridging. The chair is actually like optional for most of today. It just makes it a little bit more fun, maybe a little bit more difficult. So if you don't like this, at any time you can drop your feet to the mat for our bridging. This is where I find shoes a little bit more comfortable. Your feet can be either on top of the chair with your toes pointed towards the ceiling, or a little bit easier is to have your kind of like arch of your foot on the lip of the chair. So we're going to start with our neutral spine. Prepare with an inhale, and then as you exhale, lifting our hips up into our bridge. And then just check in. You want to think, I'm like at the end of my mat. You want to think that nice long line from shoulders, hips, and knees. So I'm not arching my back like a yoga bridge right now. I'm also trying to get a good height. And then carefully coming down with control. Exhaling, coming up. Inhaling to lower hips down. So as I said, if your back of your legs are burning, maybe do a few on the mat to start before coming up onto the chair. And we're just checking in that our knees are staying that hip distance apart. And hips are going up equally and coming down at the same time. Think of reaching your knees far away from your shoulders. We've got 4 and 3, 2, and last 1. And then we're going to come up to the top. We're just going to do little pulses, down an inch, up an inch, down an inch, up an inch. Squeezing your bum, core's nice and tight for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Carefully come down with control. And then come up nice and carefully. Again, don't give yourself a head rush, as I always say. So we're going to do step-ups on the chair. Hopefully my head doesn't get cut off here. That's why the camera's a little bit farther away today, just so I can get my whole body in. So if this is too much for you, you can always go to like a stair at home, or if you have like a little step stool or something lower to the ground. We're not going to do the full step up because that's a lot. And if you do have a stool or something, you can also put a little stool like at the base of your chair here to help, but I'll show you what we're going to do. So we're going to keep working our left leg the whole time here. So we're not going to switch sides yet. You can have your hands either on the back of your chair, or you can have hands on the wall. We're going to press up using that left leg. And then we're just going to drop a few inches and then press up. So hands are on the wall, like I said, or on the back of your chair, depending on your anatomy and whatever is comfortable for you. If you don't like this, as I said, if you had that step stool kind of below, you can gently tap your toes down if you need a little bit more assistance. But we're trying to keep our left leg loaded. And sitting back in that heel. And my hips are staying square, shoulders are staying square. And I'm trying to keep my hips relatively level. So I'm trying to not just let my leg that's down just drop down the entire way. We've got 3 more here. My chair is kind of like a rocky chair, so you can see it's pretty wobbly. And 2, and it'd also be better probably not to do a cushioned chair. And last 1, but I don't have any of those in my house. All my chairs are cushioned. So I don't know why I'm turning. We're just gonna do the other leg. So plant your right foot. You can plant it kind of more towards the center of the chair for stability. And then same idea. Trying to keep hips relatively level. And one side will probably be very different than the other. For example, you might start leaning to one side more. Maybe you can't get as good of a range of motion. Maybe your knee's starting to cave in. Try to keep your knee pointed in the same direction as your toes, not caving in or flaring out. For 4 here, try not to pause. If you can't do any more, then you're done and just wait for the next exercise. Last 2 and last 1. Carefully coming down. Now to work a little bit more of the front of our legs, that was a lot of the back of the legs, we're going to do chair pose. So I'll just turn a little bit so you can see. I'm going to do feet hip distance apart to start. Toes all pointed forwards. And then you're going to sit back like you're in a chair. And arms are going to come up, biceps ideally by the ears. And your gaze is looking forward about maybe 6 feet. If you have 6 feet to look at, I'm looking at a wall. So you want that nice long neck. Try to sit down into your chair. You can do it. We're just going to hold here for 5 more seconds. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Come up for just a second. Bring your feet together. Now come back down. Hold again. Glue your inner thighs. We're turning on our inner thighs a little bit more now. Core is engaged. And we have that neutral spine. So I'm not arching my back or tucking my tailbone. You got it. For 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Coming up. Oh, my inner thigh is burning. So we're going to do that circuit one more time. Grab a drink or anything if you need that. Oh, and I should say, make sure you're wearing like your indoor shoes if you're going to be stepping on your furniture. These are just only indoor shoes, as you can tell by how white they are. So again, you can have your heels on top of the chair, or you can have them kind of against the lip. I find that a lot harder. So today I'm going to go a little here. Okay, and then again, arms can be down by the mat, pressing into the mat, or you can have just backs of the arms, or no arms to assist. We're going to prepare with an inhale. As you exhale, lifting hips up, inhaling back down. Exhaling, drawing in that core as you lift. Inhaling back down. And inhale. Make sure your jaw is relaxed, your shoulders are relaxed. I know bridging is one where lots of people clench. And by people, I also mean me. I include that, myself in that group. We've got 6 more here. And opening hips, but keeping our ribs down. For 4, 3, 2. Just one more full range. Gonna tap your bum down for a second. Now we're gonna do bottom half pulses. So you're just gonna lift and lower your hips like 1 inch, and you're just a couple inches off the mat. You got it. A little bit more hamstring here. For 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Lower down. You can stretch it out, hug it in, whatever feels nice. Got lots of hip popping today. And then coming up for our step ups. So yeah, adjust the seat too. I found I was maybe a little bit close to the wall last time with my arms. We'll start with the left leg again. So you can bring it kind of towards the center of your chair just so that you're balanced, your chair is balanced. And then ideally, try to just press with your left leg to come up because we want it doing the work. So left leg presses up, getting centered. And then bending to lower down and lifting up. So I'm trying to kind of keep seeing my toes. My knee is going a little bit over my toes just because I'm a little bit taller. But I'm trying to kind of sit my hips back to really engage my butt. And being mindful that my knee isn't starting to cave in or flare out. We've got 5, 4, check in with your hips, you're still square. 3, 2, last one on this side, and then switching for our right leg. Take your time getting set up here. My chair is so wobbly. So coming down and lifting up. This is a great exercise for the glutes because something about, again, physics is my struggle, but the angle and the load and the lever of your knee and hip, basically the force of your body weight and the lifting here and the load you're pressing is like a lot per square inch, more than if you were just to do squats or lunges on the mat. 5 more here. Again, check in that you're square, your knee's not caving. Plus stepping up is a good thing to do because obviously we need to go upstairs in our everyday life. For 3, 2, and 1. Carefully coming down, we're going to do those chair poses again. So we'll start with hips. I need to catch my breath. Feet about hip distance apart. Your hips are always hip distance apart, duh. And then when you're ready, sitting back into it. This is good if you have a mirror to look at. You can kind of look at yourself and see if you can get lower maybe. If you can reach your arms up higher. Checking in with that neutral spine. Okay, let's all get lower for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Coming up, bring your feet together. If this is hard for your balance, you can always hold on to something. Coming down, glue those inner thighs, glue those ankles and feet. Neck is long. And we're breathing. Try to get lower. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Coming up. Ooh. Okay, so we're done with that circuit. We're going to do a different circuit now. You can kind of shake it out, grab water, catch your breath. I am going to flip my chair this way because we're going to be doing some hips thrusts, and I just didn't want my head hitting the back of it. So make sure. This is actually where a bench is a better idea because then you don't have anything to hit the back of your head with, and you can do any sort, if you have like maybe like a couch or something lower, you can always try that as well, or like depending on how low your bed is, you can do that. The higher up, it's a little bit harder. Okay, so what you're gonna do is you're gonna get into this position here where the edge of my seat is about where my bra band is. My feet are hip distance apart, toes pointed forwards, or you can have a slight turnout position. And then this is where, again, like the chair kind of gets in the way. If you want to support your head in your hands, you can do that to take the weight out of your neck. And we want to keep our spine in a neutral position the whole time here. So when I drop my hips, my back isn't going to arch like this. I'm going to bring my head up to keep it in this neutral position. So we're going to start with our hips up. You're kind of looking up at the ceiling. And then as you drop your hips slightly, you're not going to come all the way down to that. Well, it depends how high your chair is. My hips aren't going to come all the way down to the mat. And then you're going to thrust up. You know, I hate that word thrust, but that's what you're doing. Pressing into your feet, squeezing your bum to lift. I like to inhale on my going down, exhaling when I squeeze and lift. Basically just like a bridge, but in a different position. So checking in that your knees are pointed the same direction as your toes and not doing anything weird like caving in or flaring out too much. Oh yeah, this is where if you wanted to, if you had like a heavy weight, you can always hold on, or a couple of weights, you can always put them on your hips here. Today I'm not. For 4 and 3, 2 and 1, and then carefully get out of this position. There's no really great way. Just gonna sit down carefully. And then coming up, this is another one where you can hold some weights if you want, either one weight or you can have 2. We're gonna do what are called split squats. So this is one, again, it's kind of a little bit more advanced because there's balancing aspect to it. Actually, I'm gonna use the wall to assist me to show you. There's some balancing aspect, and like ankle kind of has to have good mobility here. If you don't like this, you can just do straight squats on the mat. So you're gonna stand with, if you're using a weight, I'm gonna start with my left leg. If you're using a weight, you can either hold it in just your left hand, or you can hold it in both, but then your balance has to be really, really good because you're not gonna have the wall to assist you. So if you're holding the weight in your left hand, you want the wall to your right for assistance. But I'm not using weight, so I can just have the wall right here so I can face the camera. So you're gonna bring the back of your foot onto your chair, and hips are square, and you're gonna have all your weight, well, I mean, you're gonna have like 5 or 10% of your weight in your foot on the chair just for stability, but the foot that's on the floor is gonna do like 90% of the weight bearing. So we're gonna bend our knees and then stand up. So the wall is here to help keep us stable so that we don't have any bad recruitment patterns, start wobbling. I'm actually just gonna push my chair back a little bit more. So as I said, if you don't like this, if it doesn't feel great on your ankle, you can bend your toes here and come down. Some people like that, some people don't. Or you can just do straight squats on the mat. Feel like you're pressing that foot through the ground, through the floor. Check in that your knees are pointed in the same direction as your toes. For 3, 2, and 1. Carefully switch sides. So if you need to switch sides with the wall, if you're holding weights, you can do that. I'm just gonna keep standing here. Again, get set up, make sure hips are square. You're in a comfortable position, and then bending and straightening. My chair is sliding away. These floors are quite slippery. That's why I'm wearing shoes today too. Just for a little bit extra grip. And my foot is far enough away from my chair that my knee here isn't going over my toes in this move, because I do want to use my butt to be doing the work, and my hamstrings, not so much quad. For 5, 4, 3, 2. Last one. Coming up. So get your chair out of the way from the wall. We're going to do some wall sits. This is, again, if you want to add on weight, you can, either like one big weight or a couple of dumbbells in your hands. This is really why I'm wearing the shoes, so that I don't slide away, because I've done this before. So we're going to come to our wall. Feet, again, about hip distance apart. And this is, again, where a mirror is a good idea, because you can kind of check in if, ideally, we want this 90-degree angle at our knees, but start wherever you are. If you need to be a little bit higher, do that. And we're just holding, trying to keep that neutral spine in our back. We're not adding anything fancy on here today. Unless you're adding weights, then good for you. All right, we're just gonna hold for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, you got it, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Carefully coming up. And then we're gonna do that series again. So we're starting with those hip thrusts. Bring your chair back if you're using your chair for these. Again, a little bit farther from the wall so that you don't hit your head or anything. If you are using weights or a weight, you can grab that. Carefully coming down, or you can, some people like to start on the ground and come up. Just take your time getting into position. So again, I'm kind of wiggling down to about my bra band area. It's actually really helpful as a girl to know, oh yeah, it's my bra band. When I train guys, sometimes I'm like, it's kind of like your middle back, but not quite. It's kind of hard to explain. So again, hands wherever you like them. If you want to take the weight of your head in your hands, you can do that. We're going to start with our inhale to lower, exhaling, pressing our heels down into the mat and squeezing our butt as we lift, engaging our core as we lift. So again, make sure feet hip distance apart. Toes can be slightly turned out, especially as women, just with our pelvis and our structure. Sometimes it's a little bit more comfortable to have toes slightly turned out, but you don't want to be fully, totally turned out, because you don't want to start having that like kind of external rotation for your whole life. Think of reaching knees far away, far over your toes when you come up. Same as a bridge. For 4, 3, last 2, and last 1. Carefully either coming down or getting up. Okay, so we have our split squats. Move my chair back. I'm going to start with my left leg again, just because I started with that last time, so it's had a little bit more time to rest. And then again, if you're holding a weight, you're holding the weight in the hand of the forward leg, the leg doing the movement, and then your wall or whatever support is on the other side. So get set up. Make sure your feet, I should have said this before, hip distance apart. You're not on like a balance beam. You don't want your foot forward and then your other leg kind of crossed behind. bending down and coming up. And again, you're trying to keep, you can do a couple maybe with your hands on your hips to see that hips are staying in as best of a line as you can. Really pressing that left foot through your floor. And neck is long. I know it's really tempting when we're squatting or lunging to look forward and bend our neck here, especially if we're looking at a mirror or something. You can do that once or twice, but then try not to have that crease. Just 2 more. Last one. Switching sides. Catch your breath if you need to. Readjust if your chair slid away. Get set up. And that knee isn't going over my toes, but it is pointed in the same direction as my toes. And I keep saying that because I always see people's knees start to cave in or maybe flaring out. And if you find that that's too much for you and you can't do this, you do find your knees caving in too much, do a regular lunge with your foot on the floor, still holding onto the wall. For 4, this is definitely not like a beginner day 1 move. And 3, 2, and last one. Okay, this is at our final move. We have our wall sits. So coming here, we are gonna make it a little spicy this time. Coming down, we're gonna start with just our hold, get in your right position for a bit here. And of course you can stay here if this is good for you. Stay here, do this. Otherwise, if you do want to add on, we're gonna lift opposite heels. So alternating heel lifts while trying to stay low. My mat is sliding. So now I have the shoes on, so they're at least sticking down, but my mat is sliding away. That's not good. We'll go for 10. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, oh my gosh, 4, stay low, 3, 2, and 1. Shaky, shaky. Carefully come up. Give legs a little shake. And we'll just do a little stretch here. If you want the wall to hold on to, you can. We'll start with a quad stretch, so grabbing your foot or ankle in your hand. Square everything forward. Think of pressing the bent knee towards the ground. Pressing hips forward. And then we'll switch sides. And start taking those nice big recovery breaths, as always. And we'll use our chair for our figure 4 stretch today for our glutes. So you're going to cross one ankle over the opposite knee. And maybe this is good for you, just kind of pressing this knee away, opening up the hips. You can stay here if you do want a little bit more. Kind of lean into it, so still keeping this knee down, leaning into it. And you can hold still, or you can kind of press in and out, little pulses. You can kind of sway. Find the stretch that's good for you. And flex your top foot here. And then we'll just switch to the other side. Same thing, flexing the foot. Start by kind of pressing the hip away, really opening up your hips. I'm a tight hip girly. And just holding and breathing. We'll do a little forward fold, so standing up carefully. Feet can be hip distance apart. You can grab your hands behind you if you want. Just open your chest for a minute. And then we're gonna fold forward. If you don't like your hands in this bind, you don't have to do that. You can just have your hands hang by your side. We're gonna do that in a second anyways. So knees are soft, trying not to lock them. Now you can drop your hands and just sway. You can sway side to side, you can shake your head. You can stay still if you want. Some people like to kind of pedal their legs a bit. Whatever feels nice. Getting that stretch in the backs of the legs. And then slowly curling up bone by bone. Reaching up nice and tall. And we'll just do a little twist to finish it off. I hope you enjoyed this quick lower body day. If you have some more time, you could pair this with an ab or an upper body video, or just be really happy with what you did. If you're like me, you got your heart rate going, definitely got some burn. I know my muscles got some good work. And as always, let me know any comments, questions, what you want to see. I'm always looking for ideas on types of videos you want, any specific body parts or anything, or any exercises, any different like tools. Like if you like the chair, if you like the wall, stuff like that, let me know. And I hope to see you next time.